Welcome to Nitpicking Nerds. Last week we told you cards not to buy. This week we're doing the opposite.
It's the Commander cards most worth buying.
I'm your host, Joe Cherries.
I'm your host, Beezy, and that makes us the Nitpicking Nerds again. Every day we're the Nitpicking Nerds. It never changes. Go to the Patreon, help support the channel, and we can continue being the Nitpicking Nerds. And TCG Player has a link in the description. You click it and buy the cards you were going to buy anyway, and boom, we get a kickback on the order. And that's all the shoutouts we have. Cherries, what are we doing?
We are going to tell you what cards we suggest buying for Commander. And we're not going to do cards under $1. Obviously, any card under $1 that you feel is decent for Commander, buy it because it's under $1. That's really cheap.
You can't really make a mistake buying a card under $1. It's such a low investment. These ones are all over $1, between like $1 and maybe even $20. Just cards that you are not going to regret buying. They are 100% worth the price. They will make your deck that much better.
Yes. So we're going to hop right into it. The first one, it's actually a pretty cheap one. It's only $1.62, probably because it's a rare from, Zendikar Rising. It's like 2 sets ago. Actually, 3 sets ago. It is Felidar Retreat. 3 and a white for an enchantment, landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, choose one. Create a 2/2 cat beast creature token, or put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Those creatures gain vigilance until end of turn. When this card was first printed, me and BZ went, is this card all good? We'll try it. This card's very good. It's a win con. If you have lots of creatures, every single landfall, putting those counters on, the fact that you get to attack with almost no downside because of the vigilance, you just aren't going to get attacked back.
Yeah, it's a nice, surprisingly fast clock of if you don't have creatures, it gives you something to do. You make a board presence, and if you do, you give them vigilance, and you just crack in. It represents a lot of power, and it's an enchantment, so it's hard to remove. It's not as hard to remove as Field of the Dead, but this is, like, once it's out, it's better than Field of the Dead.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a variant of you can get the 2/2, which is like BZ said, you got nothing, boom, 2/2s. This card, you got a ton of creatures, boom, counters. This card is always gonna be able to do something. It's not gonna ever do nothing.
And it powers out your ramp. So late game, ramp isn't dead. It's anthems. It's overrun. You're just gonna smash people. This card is so much better than it looks. If you haven't tried it, it's 100% worth trying to put it in your beatdown deck or your combat deck or any deck that has landfall triggers even. It's going to pull the weight of $1.62.
Yeah, for sure. For $1.62, you're absolutely going to want to get this card. Next, we have Species Specialist.
It's 2 black for a 2/3 human. When it enters, you choose a creature type, and then whenever a creature of the type dies, you draw a card.
This is only $2.88. It's not crazy expensive. Any tribal deck that has black in it, you're going to want this in. And it also has the added benefit of randomly, if your opponents have, let's say you're a zombie tribal deck and your opponents have some zombies and those die, you draw then too.
Yeah, and you can even make the decision if you have a board wipe in hand or something, you just slam it on an empty board. Well, your board's empty. Just pick the creature that is the most represented on the field and then play like Toxic Deluge or something, and you're just going to draw like 5 cards.
Yeah, exactly. So Species Specialist, like I said, I'm mostly only going to play this in my tribal decks, but it has other applications. I mean, that's pretty cool. If you're a big tribe person, I know there's a lot of people who like all their decks are tribal decks.
Yeah.
Get this card. The zombie tribal probably loves this card.
No, seriously, if you are going to make a bunch of tribal decks and they may or may not have black in them, seriously pick up like 5 of these because it's less than $3 and it's just a Grim Horror specs for your stuff. Plus maybe some of the other stuff that is on the field. This card is really good.
One thing I hate about Species Specialist is the flavor fail of it.
You can pick human?
No. So human is at least a species. Okay, and there's apes and all of that stuff. You know what's not a species?
Wall.
Cleric.
Yeah,
that's a job. That's
a profession.
He specializes in clerics.
Yeah, I'm looking to hunt a cleric. He's like tracking the footprints. That's a cleric.
Stupid. I really hate that, but the card is actually very good.
Yeah, what's next?
Next is Rhythm of the Wild. 1 red-green. Your creature spells can't be countered, and your creature spells have Riot, which means they can either enter with a +1/+1 counter or haste. Mostly going to pick haste. That's really what the upside of this card is. But hey, sometimes it's just a free +1/+1 counter.
This card is at $2.92, and I've seen it take over games by itself where once you get the haste on your non-token creatures, so this isn't in a token deck, you got to have real creatures, but once you play them, it's almost like you're just taking an extra turn because you just get the attack, you get the trigger, maybe it's an ETB and attack trigger. You just get so much right now, and they can't be countered. They're not going anywhere.
Yeah, I am absolutely a huge fan of this card. I played in my red-green Stompy deck. I mean, every turn, if they don't answer this, it's just like, oh, you're at the board. Well, I'm going to be slamming big fat threats again and doing it again over and over again. And on top of that, you can't even counter any of the stuff I'm going to be doing because of the extra line of text on this card.
Yeah, and there's even more text because if you don't have an advantageous attack, just make your creature bigger. It's an Anthem or it's a haste enabler.
Yeah, well, you're definitely playing this for the haste enabler, but it is the haste enabler slash that can't be countered, but super free roll there where you can just be like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm playing this land war elf, I'm not going to be tapping it for mana this turn. Sure, why not make it a 2/2 instead of a 1/1? Literally free.
Or even something that enters with counters. Oh, it enters with another one.
Yeah, or something. There's cool synergies like with Incubation Druid.
Oh,
it enters with an extra counter. Then next turn it's just a Gilded Lotus.
That's pretty sweet. Yeah, Rhythm of the Wild, totally worth less than $3.
Oh yeah, all these less than $3. This next one is actually pretty expensive, but it's incredibly powerful if you have not played against it. It's Teferi, Master of Time, and it costs $9.70.
I saw he was less than $10, and I went, okay, that is a super good price to pick this up because he's 2 blue for a 3 loyalty Teferi. You may activate his abilities on any player's turn anytime you can cast an instant. +1, draw, then discard. -3, target creature you don't control phases out. And the ultimate, which is -10, you take 2 extra turns after this one. That comes up so ludicrously fast. You go, play him, he goes to 4, 5, 6, 7, then it's your turn, 8, next turn, 9, 10, and then the turn before yours, ultimate, you get 3 turns in a row.
Yes, and he's plussing, so he's looting you through your deck, he's finding you counter spells to protect him, he's finding you removal spells to protect him. He's so strong, and like we said, he gets to that ultimate so fast, and not only does he get to the ultimate fast, he usually gets there, and then you can just push for 1 extra turn, another plus, and have him survive.
Yeah, you have him survive, and it's just, this card can win games not kidding by itself, and for $9.70, yes, absolutely I want that. This goes in a ton of decks.
It's one of the best planeswalkers in Commander, no doubt about it. I don't remember if we did the list a while ago.
He was top 3.
That makes sense. Like, I can't remember where exactly we put him. You say top 3. But this card is literally one of the best planeswalkers in all of Commander. If you can, the best thing here is when the guy to your right casts that board wipe and you just go, well, this
sucks for you guys.
Teferi, here we go. And this card, it just runs. It's so fast. It's so fast. You would think starting at 3 loyalty?
Yeah.
And having to get all the way to 10 and take for no, he just has this like great line of what is that text called? Static ability. It's a great line of static ability. It's just like, I'm just the fastest planeswalker of all time.
And even if he would get chipped down, like a 10/10 is attacking him, you can phase it out because you have 3 other turns to plus it. You are neutral. He took nothing and he just phased something out. This card's really, really, really strong.
Yeah, Teferi, absolutely one of the best planeswalkers in all of Commander. And at $9.70, yeah, that's not super cheap. But honestly, it is worth it. You could probably just throw this in almost any blue deck, and it will perform very well.
You're going to get full bang for your buck on that. Next is one of my favorite cards in the whole format. It's Altar of Dementia. It's only $5.60. It's 2 mana for an artifact. Sack a creature. Somebody mills X cards where X is the sacrifice creature's power. And I love this so much because it's colorless, free sack outlet, and it's not only the sack outlet, but the payoff if you happen to get infinite sacks or infinite enters triggers. Because sack a creature, mill 5. All right, well, if the creature comes back and it's a loop, mill your whole deck, you lose.
Yeah, there's 2 sides to this card. The Altar of Dementia early in the game is a mill engine for yourself, where you're going to fill your graveyard up because if you're playing Altar of Dementia, ultimately you're probably going to want to fill your graveyard up. So you fill your graveyard up early, and then late game it just doubles as this win con.
Yeah, I think this is the best sack outlet, like just in the format.
It's definitely one of them. I actually think that just because it's not on here, but it probably is worth buying. I don't have an exact price. Is Goblin Bombardment?
Oh yeah.
Just like this card is the payoff with the sack outlet. That card, it's pretty high played on like red cards, but I still think it's underrated. I think that card is one of the this and that are like 2 of the best sack outlets in the whole format.
The premier sack outlets. It saves you a whole card where like I can execute a combo. So whatever the self-contained infinite creature loop, like Karmic Guide Revelark, that's 2 cards. But if I need Visceracy or Blood Artist, it's now 4. But I can just switch both of those for Goblin Bombardment or Altar, and I win.
It's so cards. Good, yeah. So another card we're suggesting, Goblin Bombardment. Yeah. Actually, it's actually a great one to buy right now because it was just reprinted in Modern Horizons.
It's blank dollars, and it's totally worth it.
It is totally this amount of dollars that I'm pointing to, and exactly that price, and I've known it the whole time.
Yeah. What is next? It's the most expensive one on here.
It is the most expensive one on here, but it is the best card on here, actually. Yeah, it just is. It is Toxic Deluge. This card is amazing. 2 and a black for a sorcery. As an additional cost to cast this spell, pay X life. Creatures get -X until end of turn. The best board wipe ever printed, period.
Yeah, I mean, it's maybe close between Cyclonic Rift and this, but I don't know if I would call Cyclonic Rift an exact board wipe. But this is the best Damnation variant for sure. It's $18, but the power gap between this and Damnation is so ludicrously large that I think you could actually make a pretty good case for buying these for all your black decks.
Yeah, no, it's not even just like that gap. It's huge. We already know one mana can be a huge difference in EDH, any type of EDH, CDH or not. And then on top of that, the fact that you get your indestructible creatures dead. There is no creatures that survive having their toughness lowered.
Yep.
Like this. It doesn't work. I'm trying to think of something. Is there anything?
No, I don't think so.
No.
Maybe something with like persist.
Yeah, but that
comes back.
That doesn't even really count. So like Toxic Deluge just answers everything that is on the board, and that's really what makes this card so good is that you can't get around this.
Yeah, it even messes up things that say when it dies, you draw cards equal to its power. It's like, oh, you draw 0 cards. Cool. It takes out Indestructible. It takes out Hexproof. It takes out Protection. It's scalable so that if you have the biggest creature, it's not a board wipe. It's a one-sided board wipe, and you get to smack somebody or keep your creature around and make them deal with it still.
Yeah, absolutely. Just if you haven't played Toxic Deluge, you're missing out because it is the best board wipe. I put it in all my black decks. I love cards like Toxic Deluge. These are auto includes that don't negatively impact the game.
Right.
And that's what's so awesome. It's like, and if I don't have Toxic Deluge in my deck, I don't even I'm missing out. I am missing out, but it's like, oh, I put Damnation in. It's still going to perform amazingly fine. I think these are the kind of cards that are like so well designed that they can go in any deck and they even belong in most decks, but you also won't feel the loss when you don't have them.
Yes. So Toxic Deluge is just your best board wipe.
Absolutely.
$20, it's fair. I mean, I look at these prices and I go, they're all fair. Or I feel like I'm getting a deal on some of these.
Toxic Deluge, I actively trade for these sometimes. I remember the last time we were trading with one of our friends, I was just like, I don't really need anything from you. Okay, I'll take a Toxic Deluge. Like, if I build a black deck, I need a Toxic Deluge.
I will never regret buying one, ever.
Yeah. I just love the fair. I keep saying it.
Yeah.
I love how fair this card is. It's in how good and how fair it is.
All right, I'm going to move on.
Yes, good idea.
We do need to talk about other cards. Beast Whisperer is one of those other cards. It's $1.50. It's 2 green for a 2/3. When you cast a creature spell, you draw a card. We laud this all the time as like one of the best payoffs. If your deck's full of creatures, you want to take advantage of those Mana Dorks late game, they draw cards now. This card is so good. It's tutorable.
Yes. It's an elf as well, so if you're playing any type of elf ball deck, there's a huge upside there. This card is a house. I want a high density of these cards in my 40 creature decks. I want the Beast Whisperers. I want the Guardian Projects. I want the Great Henges. I want all of these cards in my deck, and this is the cheapest one at $1.50. I think it's because it got a nice reprint. It got printed back in Ravnica. I think it has a Jumpstart reprint, which helped it stay down.
It got put somewhere, maybe even like Mystery Booster. I'm not 100% sure, but I know it's $1.50, and I know that we have 15 of these sitting in a little case somewhere, and we're going to end up not regretting any of that because we're going to use probably half of them for the decks we make.
Yeah. So if this card keeps in the reprint chain, yeah, it'll be awesome. It'll stay $1.50 forever, and that's awesome. But there's also the possibility that the opposite thing happens, where they just kind of put this on the back burner for the reprints, and it's 2, 3, 4 years down the line. This is a $10 to $15 card easily.
Yeah, and it's not like it's hard to see that happen. Guardian Project hasn't gotten reprinted. It's almost the same exact effect. It's a little better.
It's $10.
And it's $10. This could easily have been $10 if it wasn't reprinted. So I'm almost worried. When this got spoiled, we're like, we're gonna need these, and I think it's gonna go up.
Yeah,
that's kind of still where I'm at. I mean, I don't see it going down.
Yeah, $1.50. You should pick up if whatever decks you think you're gonna need this for. Buy 4. Yeah, Beezy said a great thing about this actually when we were scripting. You said, I wouldn't suggest you buy one of these. I'd suggest you buy 5 of these because this card is so cheap and good.
Seriously, and you're gonna use them. Just like this next card, which is probably the best land ever printed. It's Field of the Dead, $15. That's pretty low because it's not playable anywhere anymore, which is perfect because we want it for the format. It synergizes with creatures, ETBs, landfall. if you just need blockers for like planeswalkers to protect them or something, this does everything. It's so tunable. It's so free. All you got to do is take the tiny hit for deck building, diversify your lands, and make sure you can handle having one colorless tap land. And all of a sudden, you have this crazy advantage over everyone else.
Yes. I think the important thing is this is worth $15 if your deck synergizes with it. I think is it good in any deck? Yeah, it can be good in any deck. It can represent blockers and certain things. But if your deck is working with tokens, your deck is a landfall deck, your deck tutors up lands, these type of things are the reason you want to spend $15 on a Field of the Dead. If you're just going to be going, I'm a control deck and I'll get some 2/2s, maybe not $15 good. It'll be good. No doubt in my mind it'll still be good. Might steer away from it then. But the decks I listed before, 100% $15 worth it all day.
Well, we talked about forever ago the Phyrexian Arena problem of like I'm paying $1 to draw a card every time. This in a landfall deck where you have crop rotation and Evolving Wilds and like
Vesuva?
Knight of the Reliquary or something, and Vesuva, it is basically worth like the difference of having no zombies in a game and 6 zombies for a 0 mana investment every single game. That is huge.
Yeah, like in my Omnath Landfall deck, this is one of the best cards in the whole deck. I get it out every game. I Vesuve it, I Thespian Stage it, and I spam it. I do as many zombies as I possibly can, and it always is one of the biggest threats. And not only that, it's a land. It's a land, so it's like one of the biggest threats, and it's one of the hardest permanents to answer.
You have to like Beast Within or Chaos Warp it or Strip Mine. It's a very narrow set of answers for this. You will 100% not regret your purchase of Field of the Dead.
Yes. Next is another format staple that is completely bonkers. It's Bolas's Citadel. 3 black for a legendary artifact. You may look at the top card of your library anytime. You may play the top card of your library. If you cast a spell this way, pay life equal to its converted mana cost rather than pay its mana cost. Tap, sacrifice 10 non-land permanent. Each opponent loses 10 life. I'm not positive, but I think this is in the top like 50 cards in all of Commander.
Yeah, it is an insane value engine, and we always go back to we misvalued it at the beginning, maybe me more than anyone else, but this card is part of combos. It is a mid-range value engine that cannot be 1-for-1. It has a win condition stapled onto it. It really just does everything. It slices and dices, it cheats mana. It just puts you so far ahead. You're going to win the game when you resolve Bolas's Citadel. If they don't kill it, you can't lose.
Yeah, and if you have a lot of life total and you have top in your deck, this card will dig for whatever you need to win the game.
It's the Yawgmoth's bargain when you have Sensei's Dividing Top.
It is. It's literally pay 1 life, draw a card, which is bonkers. Bolas's Citadel, it wins games, and when it's not winning games, it's one of the best value engines in the whole format.
Yeah, it's either dominating or winning a game, nothing else. There's nothing else to do.
Unless you're really unlucky. I've seen the really unlucky, like, land, okay, land, yeah.
I've seen the land, and then they untap with it, and they're like, all right, guys, here we go. Oh, man.
Well, you play the first land.
Yeah, they play it.
And then they go, land. Crap. Fudge. Yeah, but Bolas's Citadel, honestly, I love this card. I don't play it. I only play it in my life gain deck because I like to have the synergy of I can cast anything. There's not going to be a problem because I've gained 72 life this turn.
This is a borderline any deck card, though. It's right there with Toxic Deluge. I think this card is so good that it can get a little samey occasionally.
It can. I think it's close to fair. In your really, really high power decks, it has the ceiling's incredible. Like when you're only paying 2, 3 a spell every single time. In more of a standard EDH game, your 8s and lowers, this card's very fair because there's going to be 8 mana spells. There's going to be 9 mana spells. You can't just cast everything.
Well, when you're shuffling and you have a tireless tracker or something random that can continuously change top card of your deck, this is like a 5-minute turn you're about to take. You better try to be speedy with it.
Yeah, do be speedy with Bolas's Citadel, but absolutely worth $7. This is a card that might be worth speccing on. We don't tell people to spec or not.
No, we're not a finance channel.
Yeah, we're not a finance channel. Absolutely not. But me and Beezy keep looking at this card. We're like, it's still $7? It hasn't been reprinted since War of the Spark. And it's an EDH staple. Like, staple.
Oh, there was that promo that's coming out, right? The LGS thing.
Oh.
We wanted to actively pick those up.
They're so cool. Yeah, they did a support your LGS thing where you got a Fabled Passage for spending $50 on product there. Now, they're doing 5 more of those. And the coolest one is Bolas's Citadel in Poop Border.
Yeah, and so we're gonna be trying to acquire many of those if they go down to like $3-4.
Absolutely, yeah. Next one is It's a good Magic card.
So fun.
It got banned out of Standard, actually. It's Agent of Treachery. It's $5.47.
It's 5 blue for a 2/3. When it enters, you just gain control of something permanently. And then at your end step, if you control 3 things that you didn't actually sleeve up on your deck, well, you draw 3 cards. So that's dumb. This is a flickerable card. They announced the fixed version would have been, in a fair world, when it enters, if you cast it, which removes almost all shenanigans from this card and just makes it a normal, like a blatant thievery type. But this is a kill it right now and be sad that I stole your commander, or else you lose.
Yeah, this card is so good. Another card that BZ underestimated when it first came out.
Yeah, was it in our top 10? It might have been like a number 9.
Yeah,
like Bolas's Citadel was.
I remember talking about this card. Our friend was gonna put it in the deck, and you're like, nah, you shouldn't. Yeah. And it's like, well, it turns out it's actually insane. And I mean, it's 7 mana. It has a huge mana cost, and when you look at it, it's like, is this worth it? Is 7 mana for this worth it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just so abusable. You putting such strong effects like a mind control on an ETB that isn't attached to the creature. Like, we've had mind controls before that are attached to the creature. Like, what is it? Sower of Temptation?
There's one in D&D.
Yeah, and like those exist. It's like, oh, like you get rid of the creature and you just get it back. Nope. You get rid of the creature and they still have it.
Right. Oof. You don't want to get rid of it. I don't know what you want to do. You have to exile this, or you're worried that they're going to reanimate it or flicker it, and it steals commanders and they don't go back. I have your commander. You don't get to put it in the command zone. I'm going to sit here with it and do nothing.
Yeah, the command zone, if it goes anywhere but the battlefield. We had in one of my games on stream the other day, like there was a commander in a graveyard and I was going to reanimate it on my side, or somebody else was. And it's like, can I put it in my command zone? I was like, no, because it's going to the battlefield.
You had to make that choice when it died.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so yeah, Agent of Treachery, you're just going to take all the stuff. The flicker decks are the house. Like, if you're playing a flicker deck with blue in it, I 100% suggest getting this. Maybe some reanimation decks. Anywhere where you can abuse this ETB, get it.
I think if the card Ephemerate or Reanimate is in your deck, this needs to also be in your deck if you have blue.
Yes, I agree with that 100%. Next one is a former legacy staple.
Oh, yeah.
Goblin Welder, $8.98. 1 red for a 1/1 Goblin Artificer. Tap, choose target artifact a player controls and target artifact in that player's graveyard. If both targets are still legal, as this ability resolves, that player simultaneously sacrifices the artifact and returns the artifact card to the battlefield.
Still legal and simultaneously in the rules text.
Yeah, one of the strangest worded cards, because the whole idea is just like, you exchange control, but like it can't be worded that simple.
Easier said than done.
Exactly. Very easier said than done. This card is going to you're just going to put all your stuff in the graveyard. You're playing this in your Treachery decks where you're discarding and then you're switching stuff out, putting it on the graveyard. And on top of being that, it also just can be a hate piece where it's like, oh, they have a 6-man, they have their Bolas's Citadel. I'll turn their Bolas's Citadel into a Wayfarer's Bauble.
Right, and there's so many applications like that. I just think of this card, you play an artifact land on turn 1 and you play this. Well, now if you entomb on turn 2, you get the biggest artifact in your deck in play right now, and you barely did anything.
I mean, well, what can we ever... Bolas's Citadel.
Bolas's Citadel.
It's insane. You put that in play in turn 2, all of a sudden, wow, maybe I can just win.
Blightsteel Colossus, or maybe anything else that's also good.
No, you can't do Blightsteel Colossus. That shuffles back in.
Yeah, but can you respond?
No, it's Nexus of Fate effect.
Oh, it's an if it would. Thank God. I mean, we don't want people accidentally putting Blightsteel Colossus in play. You can get like an actual good card.
Yeah, exactly. Get like real good cards. This Goblin Welder is just artifact decks. Your artifact decks where you can take advantage. You're gonna be putting stuff in your graveyard and then you bring it back. This is an absolute house, and this card's been around forever. This isn't secret tech. This isn't hidden card. It's just worth it for any artifact deck. That's the only. The caveat is. Does your deck have a lot of artifacts? Yes. Is it red? Yes. Okay, put Goblin Welder in.
Okay, it's back in. It even counts as a sacrifice. If you have a Mayhem Devil out, you sacrifice the one in play. So boom, you get a trigger.
Yeah, I really like Goblin Welder a lot. I have never gotten to play it. I don't think I've ever had an artifact deck, and that's it's literally the only reason. I did just go over the caveats.
Yeah.
Red artifact deck, I've just never owned one of those.
Yeah, I have my Dargo Casket. That's really good in that deck.
Of course it is, because how could it not be? The card is absolutely bonkers. Turn a treasure into whatever.
Bolas's Citadel.
Always Bolas's Citadel.
Grinding, blasting, summoning station, any of those. Worm Coil Engine if you're playing that card.
Yeah, I think Wormcoil Engine is a little bit underrated, actually. I think BZ hates on it a little more than he should. That card is so annoying.
It's all right.
It's annoying. Up next, we have Deadly Rollick. It's $13.69.
Nice.
3 in the black for an instant exile target creature. But if you control your commander, you can cast it without paying its mana cost. This card is only $13 right now and is a free spell. I really suggest getting it now because I can't see it staying down. And this seems like a one that could be tough to reprint potentially.
Yeah, I think this is 100% going to be worth your money. The fact that the difference between 1 mana and 0 mana interaction is infinite. There's just nothing like it. It exiles. It doesn't even destroy. You can get people out of nowhere. You can save your butt. You can protect from when you're trying to aggressively combo or being comboed against. This does everything. It is very good. And the fill case of 4 mana, it's not the end of the world. It's not like it's a 7 mana spell.
Yeah, I think one thing also to throw in there, if you want to see the difference between one mana can make on a removal spell, we strongly suggest playing Swords to Plowshare in almost any white deck. It is one of the best removal spells. Terminate. Move up the ladder 1 chain. No, not even close. I don't want to touch that card.
Yeah, we're not playing
So
that.
when you go from when you go from the 1 mana to the 0 mana, okay, all of a sudden, wow, that's just as big of a gap as Terminate from what is it called? Swords to Plowshare.
Yeah, it really is. I think it's in the decks that you're casting this, it's better than Swords. Just is.
I mean, yeah, exactly. I want this when my commander costs probably less than
2, 3, 4.
2, 3, 4. Maybe
For sure.
2, 3, 4 is right where you want it, and I'd say maybe even 5.
If it's particularly sticky, like if it's going to just stay in play and you can...
Yeah, like Liesa.
Or yeah, a card that just isn't going to die as much, like it has some kind of evasion or it's indestructible or it's got persist or something. Definitely you want Deadly Relic. I'm telling you, 14's a lot, and it's still... I'm happy to pay 14 for this. I'm literally actively thinking, wow, only $14 for Deadly Relic? That's a sign of a card that's, what would we say, most worth it.
I think that like this card compared to in non like super competitive, Deadly Relic and Deflecting Spot are incredibly close power wise for non-competitive decks. The fact that one is like 35 and this is 13, get the $13 one because it's so good.
For sure. Caither's Crusade is next, $4.42. It used to be budget, and it's not anymore. And guess what? Still on this list. 3 white for an enchantment. Whenever a creature enters under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. If 3 creatures enter, they're all 4/4s. They're 1/1s.
I absolutely love this card. I used to be like I've mentioned it before, and I'll mention it one more time here. I was on the opposite side of this, where I'm like, I probably won't play Caither's Crusade in many decks other than if it has combos. Nope. Any deck where I can have where I'm going to have a large number of creatures, I'm in for it. And if you can just make 3 or 4 creatures at a time, okay, this just makes so much power.
And it does enable combos. There's Gave things you could do, sack outlets with that, and there's also just
Basu's Lieutenant,
a persist creature or Basu's Lieutenant and a sack outlet, and you just have infinite triggers on things. Caither's Crusade does a lot more than it looks like it does. It looks like a slow overrun, but if you play some kind of card that gives you more creatures than mana spent, like create X where X is whatever, you're just going to get, all right, +6/+6, and you're dead.
I think the reason in the past I was so down on this card is you have to tap out usually to play it. But if you hold out till late game and do it, it's better. Sometimes you're going to have to tap out and play it. Maybe you're going to have that turn 5 where you're like, this is my best play. If it survives a round, it's insane. That's not the best thing. It's not what you want to be doing with these type of cards. But if you do untap it, it'll be completely bonkers. And the potential of late game where you just have the 9 mana, you have this into anything else, like, okay, that was a really strong turn.
But I think more realistically, you're going to be able to tap out for this, not have any mana left, but then you have at least one effect on board. It's going to make 1 or more tokens. And then once you get the, triple Gavany Township, I don't really care what happens to this thing. If it dies, that's I didn't want it to die, but I got my value out of it. Exactly,
yeah. The whole point of this card is just you don't want to tap out for it if you can avoid it.
Don't ever put yourself in a scenario where you could get 0 counters.
Yeah, that's the worst. But it's going to happen. There's no doubt that sometimes you're going to play Caither's Crusade and you're going to get 0 counters because that's just magic.
Well, I might just not do that. I might just hold it. So wait till you can put a token out for free or spend mana after you play this.
Yeah, that's fair. Next is Dig Through Time. This is $1.25. 6 blue for an instant. It has Delve. Look at the top 7 cards of your library. Put 2 of them in your hand and the rest in the bottom in any order.
Can you say efficient card draw?
This card is just bonkers. It's $1.25, and it never changes because it's not legal in any format anywhere.
Because it's just too good. It's actually legal in Pioneer, but nobody plays that anymore, sadly. It's a 2-for-1. It's kind of like the best divination ever, and it only costs 2 mana because obviously you're trying to fill up your yard if this is in your deck with fetch lands and Thought Scour and whatever else you have lying around. It's a ton of selection. Top 7% of your deck.
This one's really simple. This is one of the best card draw spells, card selection spells, however you want to put it, ever made. And it literally is banned in Legacy, Modern. Is it restricted in Vintage? I don't know.
Maybe. Hard to say.
Might be. I don't know. I don't keep track of Vintage. But being banned in Modern and in Legacy, it says something about it. Does that always convert to a good commander card? No. But in this case, it really does because this card is bonkers.
It's such a well-worded card because it will dig you into whatever you're looking for. If you're looking for a counter spell, if you're looking for a creature, a win condition, a board wipe, if your deck has a decent concentration of them, you're going to find one, period.
Yeah, I mean, 7 cards is a lot to look at, and you're going to get the best 2 every single time. Need some lands? Get some lands. Need some counter spells? Get some counter spells. Card draw. You're probably going to get whatever you want out of this because you're digging so deep.
Yes. Next, this card digs through your whole deck. It's called Court of Calling. It's $5.18. X, green, and has Convoke. Search your library for a creature, mana cost X or less, and just put it into play. This is an instant. They can't respond to it if they want to know what creature it is. All right, X5. They have to respond to it now or else they don't get to. And my 5-drop just comes into play and I get whatever triggers are associated with that. Court of Calling can cost 0 mana. It is an instant. This is amazing for toolbox decks.
Yes. Toolbox decks, ETB decks, anything where you've got a ton of creatures. Court of Calling only being $5 is shocking. I think it might be because it's fallen out of favor in other formats like Modern and it was reprinted in Double Masters. So this card is really good. Like you said, if you just have 6 creatures out, you can just tap all 6 of those creatures and go get a 3-drop.
Yeah, signs your deck wants Court of Calling, and it's almost, you definitely want it if your deck has things like Reclamation Sage and Night of Autumn and maybe some Hate Bears.
Eternal Witness,
like your Shriek Maws, Ravenous Choops, those types of cards. You probably want Court of Calling if you can afford it.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, you should be able to afford it. It's $5.
It's really not bad at all. This is a pretty solid card in any type of commander.
Yeah, if you're not on a restricted budget, $5 is not too bad at all, especially for a tutor.
It'll be like the best tutor in your deck too.
It absolutely can be one of the best tutors in your deck because you're gonna, like you said, this is a toolbox card. Put in your toolbox deck, it's gonna be good.
Plus, it's a second copy of whatever your win condition is. If you got 11 mana sitting around or some redundant creatures, oops, Craterhoof, I win. Second copy of it.
Oops, yeah, oops, like it was a mistake. Moving on to the next one, it's Living Death, $6.80. This is 5 mana, and what it says is you put your creatures from the field into exile, then the creatures in the graveyard onto the battlefield, and the creatures that you put into exile into the graveyard.
It's just like Goblin Welder. It just wants you to switch the creatures that are dead and alive, but it can't word that exact way. $6.80. Seriously, I've played this card a ton, like more than anybody. It's like the power I feel like I'm getting is like $25 to a $30 card. It's just take over the game every time or win the game on the spot because of your sack triggers, or you can loop it, or with your Blood Artist or whatnot. You just need to be in a graveyard deck, and this is like the best card ever.
It is, and it doubles as a board wipe if it's the first board wipe cast, basically. Before any of the board. So if the board hasn't been cleared at all, you're going to clear the board out, and what you've been filling your graveyard the whole game probably because that's the idea of the deck. Or you just sack your whole board to your Viscera Seer, throw your stuff in the graveyard, cast this now, and then get it all back, and they don't get any of it back.
It's just so brutal. The resource disparity is insurmountable for them, and you're going to win the game after you resolve Living Death. It's so easy.
Yeah, I mean, usually what happens is you cast your Living Death, and then somebody else board wipes after that because it's like, well, I have to. His board's insane. I have to stop him.
Yeah, and then there's the world where you get Living Death, and one of the cards you get back is Eternal Witness, and you go, all right, insurance, and everyone just wants to concede right there.
No, I never concede.
Just lose to it.
No, I've conceded many times. Yeah, he wins. I'm just going to, I can't stop it.
Living Death is fantastic. Even at triple the price, it would still be on this list.
Yeah, maybe. I never even thought about that. Yes, but for $6, I'm definitely picking up for my graveyard decks. Next one, I'm picking up for any green deck.
It's Bala Ged Recovery. 2 and a green. Sorcery. Return target card from your graveyard to your hand. And it's also a land on the flip side that enters tapped and taps for a green. This is one of the best MDFCs. Not really sure where I'd rank it. It's in the top 6. The only other contenders would be the Mythic pay 3 life lands. This is just a green land that goes in like every green deck. If you're not going crazy about tap lands, this is in your deck.
This card is very, very good. Often just going to be a tap land in your early game, one of the first lands you play because you don't have something to do with the mana that turn. And then it scales in the late game, turning into a spell that is the best spell you've cast in this game, or the best spell that, got discarded from your hand or whatever.
Yeah, don't play Regrowth. Don't play Green Tapland. Do play mixed version of both because it's the option that makes it so strong. It's not either half. It's both halves on a card that you get to choose from. That's what makes it so unique.
I am never playing Regrowth in a deck, most likely.
Not with this around.
Not exactly. Not with Bala Ged Recovery around. This card is so good. It's just, I'd pay 1 extra mana every single time to have the insurance in the fallback of it being a tapped forest on the other side.
Yeah, this type of MDFC is perfect because it is never dead. Never dead. It's just always great. It'll always get you something out of it, and that's why I'm still willing to pay $3 for it.
Yeah, but what if your graveyard's been exiled and it's super late game and you have 20 lands in play? Is it dead then?
Now I have 21 lands in play. Regrowth is the old mage stuck in my hand. It doesn't do anything.
Yeah, that's true. Moving on, we have Mizzix Mastery. It's $8.05. 3 in a red for a sorcery. Exile target card that's an instant or sorcery from your graveyard. For each card exiled this way, copy it. And you may cast the copy without paying its mana cost. Exile Mizzix Mastery. Overload 5 red. This card is just a win condition. You spew out all these spells throughout the game over and over and over again. Then you just Mizzix Mastery. You need to do everything you've done. Again, I think BZ described it as whatever it's. Say I'm playing it, then it's Joe's greatest hits. It's all the things I've done all game.
Yeah, it's insert your names here's greatest hits. It feels like the living death for spells because you get way too much for the spell once you do the work. So put the work in, mill yourself a little maybe, and then even with delve spells in your deck, you can delve all the lands and enchantments you mill, and then you just get every single spell. And if the last one has Storm, the game's over because it says cast the copies. So if you got 10 things and Mind's Desire is the last one, you get Storm 11 on Mind's Desire.
Yeah, Mizzix Mastery is it's a win con. And on top of that, if you're able to put like a big, giant, flashy instant or sorcery into your graveyard, you can just be a 4-mana version of that. Like say you discarded like
Aminatu's Augury.
Yeah, exactly. And you can just go, okay, I'll cast my 4-mana Aminatu's Augury.
So it even has an early game case where you can just cheat 6 mana and pull out ahead of everybody else. And then Mizzix Mastery goes away. It's always going to do something.
I have one little complaint about just not Mizzix Mastery specifically, Magic with copying spells. Can we get consistency? If you're going to copy a spell, then cast it. That should always be the case. If you're going to copy a spell and then choose new targets for the copy, why is this both things? Why are we doing both? Why is sometimes, like with Mizzix Mastery, they're all cast. They all count towards Storm. But like Test of Talents, I think. Or not Test of Talents. Teach by Example is another. It's not cast.
Just copies it. If you have Gutter Snipe out, Mizzix Mastery is your best friend. It's 2 damage per. If you cast 10 spells, you just dealt 1,000,000 damage. I think is the number.
I think that's what makes Mizzix Mastery like over the top good.
It says cast.
It's even if it wasn't cast, they would still be good. Casting all the spells in your graveyard is still going to be very strong. But you have the fact that this counts for Storm. This counts for all your cast triggers.
Well, I mean, Magecraft, you get the copy and the cast.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah, this card is really good with Magecraft.
Archmage Emeritus into Mizzix Mastery. Game over.
Maybe you mill yourself. You just lose.
And I drew 100 cards.
That was my fault. I shouldn't have done that.
Wouldn't even regret that.
Next, we have one of my favorite counter spells in this format, Mystic Confluence. It's $2.50. 3 blue, choose 3. You may choose the same mode more than once. Counter target spell unless the controller pays 3. Return target creature to its owner's hand. Draw a card. The versatility on this card is absolutely off the charts. I don't know the exact number of combinations you could pick, but it's like 27 different things you can do with it, right?
Was it 9? 27? It's above 5. The versatility is the reason you play this card. It's not the most competitive card in the world. It's only $2.50. It can be triple unsummon, triple mana link if you're really in a pinch. That actually feels bad. Mostly what it is you can bounce a problem creature or counter a big spell and then draw 2 cards, or fire it off end step if no one did anything, draw 3 cards.
Yeah, but the main thing I usually I think this is usually 5 mana, counter a spell, draw 2 cards. That's like my go-to. Obviously, there's the versatility of bounce problemed creatures. Get those off the field. There's much more to this card than that, but I like that. Like, that mode already feels good. A 5 mana counter spell, draw 2 cards. That's a pretty nice card.
5 mana, draw 3 isn't even that bad. I think
not at all.
Every version is a little bit below rate, but the combination of them isn't. It's above rate, and that's why I really like this card a lot.
Yeah, it's versatility. This card is all about versatility. It doesn't, all the things, triple bounce for 5 is okay. The draw 3 for 5 is okay. And like,
Mana Leak is garbage.
The Mana Leak overall, but the fact that I think it is 9. There's 9 different combinations to use this card in adds up to a really powerful card because you just get to pick and choose your spot and what to do with it.
Here's your Mystics Mastery tech, because now when they overload and try to cast 10 spells, you can counter 3 different ones with Mystic Confluence.
Ooh, that'll show them.
Instead of countering their Mystics Mastery. You just wait.
Got them.
Yeah, I've done there's actually some kooky things you can do. Like if somebody responds with a board wipe, or somebody casts a board wipe and you go, all right, I'll counter unless you pay 3, but also I'm going to bounce one of my guys and draw a card. It's like, what do you want to do?
I'll pay 3.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's like, okay, I'll bounce my guy and draw a card. And then you just paid 3 extra mana.
Yeah, sometimes mana leaks can be super annoying to play against. And they're just, it's like, oh my God, I don't want to deal. I don't want to pay 3. My whole plan was to board wipe and then advance my board states.
Yeah, I'm not paying Toxic Deluge for 6. Come on.
You jerk. What's the last one? What do we got?
There's only one more card, and it's 10 cards. They range between $3.62 and $8.42. All of the check lands are worth playing and worth buying and worth filling your decks up with as many as you can play. We're talking Sunpetal Grove, Glacial Fortress, Clifftop Retreat, Isolated Chapel, Woodland Cemetery, and the rest that I could name, but it's not worth it. These are going to come in untapped almost all the time, especially if you have access to shocks and basics.
Yeah, these are some of the best bang for your buck lands. They're just going to come in untapped almost all the time, whether you're playing a ton of basics, you're playing shock lands, dual lands, whatever it is. Triomes, these just come in untapped so easily. Triomes are going up in price.
They're going up. We should have bought more earlier.
They were so cheap.
They were $3.
We should have gotten them, but it's just like you always look at them and you go, it'll always be that cheap.
They're standard. Not for long.
Yeah, check lands absolutely just. I don't think there's too crazy much to say about check lands. They're good, efficient lands, and at a good price.
I think they're underloved. They're so, salt of the earth, bread and butter for your deck. Don't forget your check lands.
But that's our video. Special shout outs to every single one of our patrons. Love you all as much as you can without making you uncomfortable, obviously. And special shout outs to Jordan Vaughn, there was no cut there. That was incredible. I have such a good memory.
It's all up here.
Yeah, Jordan Vaughn, thank you for becoming our brand newest patron.
You can go to patreon.com if you want to join the ranks, and certain tiers even get you the personalized shout out that Jordan was lucky enough to get. Also, TCG Player link. Buy cards from TCG Player. You were going to buy them anyway, but now you can buy them through the link. And if you do, we'll get a kickback on the order, and we really appreciate it.
Yes, we appreciate everything that you guys do to help. And if you would like to hang out with us, head over to Discord, where you can at least message us at minimum, because we're always
available.
And we're in Discord a bunch. Add us.
We're real people who really interact with people.
We try our best, and sometimes it's harder some days are harder than others, but hey, we honestly like interacting with our fan base.
We will put forth an effort, for sure. Tidbit, and it's your turn.
Tidbit about our lives.
Our lives.
Man.
Anything. You can't just end the video like last time.
I'm not going to end the video this time. I guess we've been watching Loki and Rick and Morty.
There's just new shows that have been coming out. We haven't talked about Rick and Morty, though, so you have to talk about Loki.
Yeah, we did talk about Rick and Morty. So, yeah, I've been enjoying Loki. I think it's a pretty good show so far, and I'm interested to see where it's going. I can't wait for Owen Wilson to get his jet ski. Spoilers. It's definitely going to happen.
Kind of. It is definitely going to happen.
Until when Owen Wilson gets his jet ski, if he doesn't get his jet ski, I'm done.
Marvel Universe, forget it.
I will never watch you again, Marvel, if Owen Wilson doesn't get his jet ski.
This Hawkeye show and War Machine, they got 2 less viewers now.
Yeah, I'm planning on watching those because you have surprised me by giving me characters I never cared about in the movies, like WandaVision, and
Bucky.
Bucky,
Falcon.
It's like all characters that in the movies, like I don't care about these characters, and then all of a sudden you're like, hey, look at this. What if we actually develop them as characters? Like, they're kind of interesting, right?
Well, one thing I noticed was after Endgame, I'm not even going to bother saying spoilers because that was like years ago. Everybody good is dead. And you're only left with the lame ones. So they had to build them up.
Yeah.
There's nobody good left. I mean, you got Thor.
But they did a good job. I've actively liked WandaVision and Captain America and Winter Soldier. Loki's been good so far.
Loki has been very interesting. I wish the number of episodes was consistent with them.
Yeah, I don't know where it's going. Like,
WandaVision had 8, I think, or 9. And then Bucky or whatever had like 2 less than that. And this one, I feel like the season finale is coming up.
it's coming soon. I mean, how many more episodes can they do after
they did that?
Yeah, after doing that.
I mean, how could you?
Where are we gonna go? I don't know.
I don't know either. It's on the video.
We're just trying not to spoil anything. Peace out, Tribe Scout.
We nailed it.